if Edward Snowden, if this guy can read your email, how secure really are this country's secrets? Joining me now is Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont. Senator, a lot of your colleagues have been calling for prosecution and extradition of Edward Snowden in the wake of his revelation that he, in fact, is the leaker of these documents. What's your feeling about those calls?
Well, my feeling is he made a decision. He knew what he was doing, and he will pay the consequences, whatever that may be. But let's not get distracted from what the real issue here. The real issue is not Snowden. The real issue is what he revealed. And that is right now, and this is the reason that I've consistently voted against the USA Patriot Act, what he revealed is that virtually every single phone call made in the United States is now on record, on file with the United States government. And in addition to that, what we now know is that the websites that we access, the emails that we use, may also be on file. And the question, Chris, is not Snowden. The question is, what does freedom and liberty mean in the United States of America? What does our Constitution mean? What kind of country do we want to be? Are we comfortable with knowing that so much of what we do in our personal lives is in somebody's file in the United States government? And you raised a good point that there could be bad actors out there who gain access to that information. But that's not the only point. Kids will grow up knowing that every damn thing that they do is going to be recorded someplace in a file. And I think that will have a very Orwellian and very inhibiting impact on the way we live our lives.
Senator, I just want to ask you about this question about this sort of inaugurating this debate about what kind of country we want to live in. That's something Snowden himself said. It's even something the president has made mention of. He welcomes that debate. It's interesting to see the polling come out, which shows I think a majority, though not a very strong majority, that basically is tacitly or explicitly endorsing these practices, and also a real interesting partisan switch in which Democrats 7 years ago polled on this, didn't seem that enthused about it. In fact, were quite critical, and now seem to be much more willing to believe that this is the kind of thing that is necessary or acceptable for national security. What does that say to you about where this debate is right now, if we're really going to have that debate?
Well, it doesn't really shock me. There are many people who I have talked to, many good and decent people. This is what they say. They say, look, I'm not a terrorist.
Right.
I really don't care if the United States government goes through all of my files, knows everything about me. It doesn't matter to me if it gives them more tools to capture terrorism. I understand that position. I strongly disagree with it. I frankly think that's unconstitutional. It's not what our Constitution is about. It's not what this country is supposed to be about. Look, Chris, I happen to be someone who believes terrorism is a real threat to this country. There are people who want to do us harm, want to kill Americans. I want our law enforcement people to be vigorous in going after terrorists. But I happen to believe they can do that without disregarding the Constitution of the United States or the civil liberties of the American people. And I think what we need is to tighten up the USA Patriot Act, specifically Section 215. If the government has probable cause, if they have reason to believe somebody is a terrorist, go after that person. But don't have a blanket check on hundreds of millions of Americans who are innocent.
You're referring to Section 215, which is the business records provision of the Patriot Act, which we have now learned, thanks to the revelations about the Verizon court order, that all of their phone records of every customer were turned over to the government, were being essentially used as a dragnet. And I think, Senator, you make a great point here, which is that we can have the debate only right now because we know a little more information. And the debate is conducted on such unequal footing precisely because citizens don't know much more than officialdom tells them.
Right. Right. And by the way, Chris, why we need to have this national conversation, it's not only the government. It is the private sector as well.
Yes.
When you go to the doctor and you get a prescription for an ailment that you have, are you really comfortable knowing that somebody will know what kind of diseases you have?
Yeah.
The world has changed, technology has changed, and we have got to figure out a way to protect basic American rights in the middle of